You know, I remember Vietnam, at least I got the majority of it, um, as a young child and later as a teenager through the late 60s and into the mid 70s. It was always there. Even after the peace treaty that they had or ceasefire in 73, Vietnam was still part of everything. And at the end, like what happened in Afghanistan, we left and we had to run. Don't let anyone tell you differently. I saw the pictures. People begging to get on helicopters in Saigon before the North Vietnamese took over. So many copters coming down that to make room for them, they were throwing $1 million helicopters off aircraft carriers to make room for more, literally pushing them into the ocean. I remember those images from running from Vietnam. Also, I've been to the wall. I know the price of getting into a war that does not help any, does not, has really no purpose other than some weird ass political point. So fast forward here, you think we know better, but no. We are being led by a bunch of people, uh, Donald Trump, but the people around him, Hesgeth and all the other people, who think that Vietnam would have been won if they had done other things. I would guarantee you, if you ask Pete Hesketh what he thinks about the having a Vietnam War, he would tell you we could have won it. I swear to God, he would have said it. Okay? Um, but they have no plan other than they think it's a holy war. Side note, Pete Hesketh, pastor, on a podcast. He lives in Texas. First of all, Hesketh has been preaching to his troops about end times. And that pastor said on an open mic that he's praying for the death of James Tallarico. This is the Christianity they are foisting on us, and that's not the Christianity I fucking believe in. Simple as that. That being said, they have no plan. Trump is sending out feelers that he wants to get out. Of course he wants to get out. He's fucked. Republicans are still on the thing like, no, we're going to make regime change and the world is behind us. The world is not behind us. I've heard several Republicans say that. They're ready to back us up. No, they're not. They want nothing to do with this. Even with the shipping. Nope. We can cut a deal with Iran ourselves. That's the words. And Trump cannot think on the war because his advisors, if you haven't heard the stories again, I'll put it out from NBC story, that his advisors aren't giving him true reports on the war. No, because he's most of this in there, and he's a little kid. And this would have happened if we were in war in his first term too. They are literally just giving him 2-minute montages of shit being blown up by Americans and Israeli strikes. So he's getting the impression we're winning this thing. They're ready to quit. But he hasn't been told other things are going on. He's getting on secondhand. That's what he's talking when he does. And even though he's talking about peace, he sent out a 15 talking about peace and sent out some kind of peace agreement, which basically was do what we say or fuck you. The Iranians said, nope. So we're at a standoff. And we're about to land troops on the ground. And they're ready. This is what happens when you have incompetent people running the government, especially a man who is so desperate to literally keep in power. He'll do anything he wants. And at the cost of American lives. Because to him, he don't give a shit. Same with Pete Hesgeth. They want blood. Because it makes them feel better about themselves. So what's going to happen next? I don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. No one knows. In Israel, you got a crazy man running everything. And if you see my back of my last video, with the support of all the majority of the Israeli people who want to commit genocide across the Middle East to make a great Israel. You have the Saudi prince, bin Laden, who's basically telling Trump, hey, stay with it. We can remake the Middle East. You hear a theme here? In Trump world, they're going to change the regime so they can get someone that's more friendly to them and they can control the regime. You hear this? This is all crazy people talking. They think using American money, American weapons, and American bodies that they can have an advantage in the Middle East and change it to advantage of them. That is going to happen. Okay? That's not going to happen. Because let's be honest. The Iranians are not going to give up. The Iranians now know this is a fight to the knife. Okay? Just with Israel being involved, they know this. They can see what's going on in Lebanon and in Palestine. They know that's what Israel wants for Iran. The Saudis have been their competitors for decades, politically and through economics. And so they know that if the Saudis are encouraging Trump, here we are. And Trump's pliable as fucking Play-Doh. His mind is shot. And he's desperate to be some kind of historical figure. So I don't know what's next. No, let me rephrase that. I don't know a way out. He's painting himself in a corner. His advisors are sitting there throwing more paint at him. And they're about to put American troops on the ground, which would probably be a buzzsaw. I thought one creator, Danny Line, put it perfectly. He did a bit with American soldiers landing in Iran with the war chant from the new Dune 3 trailer. And the thing about it is, that's what they're going to face. Fanatics. Desperate to keep their homeland. This is not going to go well for America. And again, for the egos of a Saudi prince, a man in Israel is trying to keep from going to jail, but the population is down with it. And in the White House, a man who's just totally lost, but wants to feel like a tough man, totally lost, listening to advisors who have no idea how to persecute a war or why we went to war, other than they got toys to play with. So, what happens next? Ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be good. And we have to hold on, because the only way we're going to change this is in November. You saw what happened in Florida last night. That's the first warning shot. It's just that we're going to go through a lot of pain to do it. And once we do it, then shit's going to happen. Because that's what the system is designed for. And we will use the system to our advantage. Do not listen to far left progressives that say the system's broken. We should not vote. Who cares? Because we saw what happens when you don't. And we haven't even gotten into economic news yet. Because when the American Treasury says we're insolvent, that's fucking stupid, one. And two, Trump just did it again to everybody. So hold on to your butts. Stand your ground, and hopefully we can get to November where we can make some change. Because right now, we're on a literally flowing down a hill with nothing to stop us. And God, I hope the trees aren't at the bottom of this hill.